Hi everybody, this is Dr. Lucy Fuller with the Charleston Animal Society. I am the Senior Director of Veterinary Care here, and I'm going to tell you about our shelter management, Maddie's Apprenticeship. So we call it the Shelter Management Program, or Managing Shelter Health. So a little bit about our shelter. Our shelter was first founded in 1874 to help prevent cruelty to carriage horses in Charleston, or working horses in Charleston. And since then, of course, we have evolved to do a lot more than just horses. We're have built and are continuing to build the first no-kill community in the Southeast. So not just a no-kill shelter, but a whole no-kill community, which is really exciting. We have as our mission, very simply, to prevent cruelty to animals. And we were happy to achieve our first cruelty conviction in 1947. And then in March of 2017, we got the first maximum sentence for animal cruelty, which we're really excited about. So, of course, we have a picture here of a pretty famous victim of cruelty, Caitlin. We did a lot of work getting her abuser convicted. We do have some accolades we're pretty proud of. We have been AHA accredited, our shelter. So we have a combined shelter and spay-neuter clinic, and we are the only combined shelter spay-neuter clinic, so animal shelter and spay-neuter clinic that are combined in the same building, to be AHA accredited, that only one in the Southeast. So we're pretty excited about that. We've been AHA accredited since 2015. We are a GuideStar Platinum participant, and we also win some local awards through the Charleston City paper, best local cause, things like that. We're pretty excited about those. So in terms of sheltering, we're an open admission shelter. We're a private nonprofit, and we have a county contract with the County of Charleston. We take in about 8,000 to 9,000 animals a year, close to 8,000 dogs and cats, and then up to 9,000 of others. So you see rabbit here. We also take in other small mammals. We take in some reptiles. We take in some farm animals, chickens, that kind of thing. Gets us up to 9,000. We have outreach and safety net programs that also kind of help compose the constellation of things that we offer. Our Animal Resource Center is a great place for people to get information and classes in dog training. We have a food bank for people who are needy. We give advice on behavioral concerns with pets. We also have this Pets for Life program, which is an HSUS program. We have an arm of it here. So it helps folks in underserved areas of the community. The outreach coordinators go door to door and make contact with their clients, and then they bring them in for wellness services or spay and neuter. And it really helps provide support and helps people in poor areas care for their pets and keep them in their homes. They also do some fence building for dogs that are on chains. Of course, we do spay and neuter, as I mentioned. We offer low-cost services to the public. We also, of course, do lots of surgery through grants from various charities. In 2016, we did about 12,000 surgeries. Last year, we did about 11,000. So we do lots and lots of surgery. Adoptions, of course, we did 5,509 adoptions in 2016, pretty similar last year. We do a lot of adoptions at off-site events, PetSmart and Petco stores. We have business ambassadors who hold adoptable pets for us. And we have community events, of course, where we do adoptions as well. We have a very active fostering program and an apprenticeship through Maddie's as well for our fostering program. We have an extensive network of foster homes. It's one of the ways that we're able to save the most lives, really. So lots and lots of kittens are saved that way. It's a really excellent program and very comprehensive. So we have lots of excellent staff too. Christina here in this picture is one of our foster staff, but we have, of course, lots of other staff who do things as well. So we have animal services directors who oversee our day-to-day care of animals in the shelter and pathway planning and things like that. Animal care technicians and animal care assistants perform intake exams on animals. They administer vaccinations, perform diagnostic tests. We have, of course, staff who work in adoptions and care for animals there. We have our spay-neuter support staff who prepare animals for surgery and recover them. Of course, we have also administrative or infrastructure staff who help development staff. We have lots and lots of different departments. We also have veterinary assistants who help with rounds. We have one specific veterinary assistant who helps us directly, helps the veterinarians with rounds and emergencies, rechecks, as I mentioned, surgical technicians, preparing animals for surgery and assisting with recovery. And we have medical records technicians who prepare surgical drugs for each patient, and they kind of oversee the schedule for the surgery day. I mentioned our outreach coordinators. They go door to door in target communities. They offer wellness services, and their goal is to keep pets in homes and out of the shelter. We also have a Humane Education department. So they're doing a lot of reaching out to young children, but also through the Canine College, they're reaching out to people who want to get training for their pets. And they're helping adults and children to learn how to humanely care for animals and how to be kind. So it's a re-education program for many people who never really learned what it means to take good care of an animal or be kind. We have an initiative called No Kill South Carolina. So this is we hope and we're planning to try to make the whole of South Carolina, the whole state, achieve no-kill status, meaning that all the animals that can be adopted or gotten out of the shelter alive are saved. So every healthy, every treatable animal is saved in shelters across the state, which is a lofty goal, but we think it's attainable. So we're doing a lot of outreach to South Carolina shelters that includes training, help obtaining grant funding, disaster response, lots of other assistance if there's a disease outbreak, that kind of thing. And we want to make sure that no shelter in our state is more than 1 or 2 hours from in-person assistance. So someone who could drive to help them if they have a crisis within 1 or 2 hours. No Kill, No Harm, No More is our initiative that is sort of overarching. So we're expanding outreach efforts to help deserving families and their animals stay together. So we provide resources. Some of the other programs I mentioned are kind of under this umbrella, some of the outreach programs especially. And we also want to help law enforcement and the courts uphold current laws and then prosecute people who perpetuate cruelty to animals. So this apprenticeship, we call it Managing Shelter Help, and really we're targeting shelter managers, shelter directors, board members if they're directly involved or if they're thinking about changing things in their shelter, changing a structure or changing the way things are managed. Any other shelter workers, we know every shelter is different, and some have very few employees and some have lots of employees like we do. So it's really people who are working with animals and managing animal flow, or who are planning how that will be managed in their shelter. So it's going to be taught by experienced veterinarians and shelter staff members who have lots and lots of years of experience managing shelters. We have several people on our staff who are have their certified animal welfare administrator credential. So we have several of those helping teach this class, so their CAWA credential. We're going to include both didactic and hands-on experience with an emphasis on practical application, because we know we like practical application. We like to help people learn how they can apply what we're teaching them to their shelter. Not just learn the theory, but also learn the application. We're going to furnish participants with a workbook that will help them decide maybe how they can apply things in their shelter, help them interpret what we're teaching them for its application. We're hoping they can start using that workbook day one when they go back. So the first day of the apprenticeship, we're going to talk about fundamentals of animal flow. We're going to talk about managing admissions to best suit your shelter and your type of animal flow. We're going to talk about length of stay and euthanasia decision-making, and how length of stay and euthanasia decision-making can really affect your animal flow. Also going to talk about capacity for care and medical emergencies. So capacity for care is kind of linked to length of stay. Really all of these things are linked. We're going to talk about how they affect your shelter and your animal flow and animal health. We're also going to talk about the association or ASB guidelines for standards of care in animal shelters. So the ASB guidelines are a document that many people are familiar with, perhaps not all, but they're sort of the the bedrock on which we make all of our recommendations for how animal health is managed in shelters. So we're going to talk about those because they're very important. Day 2, we're going to talk about fostering and our foster program. We're going to talk about special adoption programs and how they can help you increase your live release rate or increase your save rate. We're going to talk about shelter rounds and how so important they are. Housing, organizing housing, managing housing, animal care, and cleaning. We're going to talk about cleaning versus disinfecting. It's a very important distinction. We're going to talk about disease recognition and intake procedures. And we're going to talk about biosecurity. And many of these things are related, of course, but we're going to talk about them separately because we feel they would deserve their own lecture. Day 3, last day of the apprenticeship, we're going to talk about identifying stress and pain. So mental stress and pain primarily, but also potentially physical. We're going to talk about enrichment and socialization in sheltered animals. We're going to talk about behavior assessments and body language and low stress handling, how to keep animals, how to keep you and the animal safe, but also not create too much undue stress. We're going to revisit those guidelines that we talked about the first day and talk about maybe application in your shelter, wrap up with questions. And then we're going to have a session, a roundtable session, so that all participants can come to the presenters and ask maybe application questions, maybe things they didn't feel like asking in front of the whole class, you know, working through questions and problems, and maybe things that we didn't cover. We'll talk about those as well. So we really look forward to welcoming you to Charleston and to our shelter. And thanks for your attention.